My wife's brother kept using my equipment without asking until I finally drew the line. You think you own everything? He shot back. My wife sided with him. You're not exactly irreplaceable. So I removed everything I'd paid for from storage. But what I left behind destroyed them both. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Hey Reddit, I've been lurking here for years but never thought I'd have a story worth posting. Well, here we are. This is probably going to be long, but stick with me. The ending is absolutely worth it, and I promise you won't see it coming. I 36 male, live in Spokane, Washington. Been running my own custom metal fabrication business for 13 years now. Before you ask, no, I'm not some tech bro or crypto millionaire. I'm a blue-collar guy who works with his hands, builds things out of steel and iron, and I'm damn proud of it. Custom railings, security gates, decorative ironwork, industrial repairs. If it's made of metal and needs building or fixing, I'm your guy. But this story isn't really about my work. It's about how my gold-digging wife and her parasitic brother tried to destroy everything I built, and how I got the most satisfying revenge of my entire life. Seriously, by the end of this, you're gonna be cheering. Let me paint you a picture of where I came from, because it matters for the story. I grew up dirt poor, like government cheese and powdered milk poor. My dad was a piece of shit who abandoned us when I was 12, left me, my mom, and my little sister Emma with absolutely nothing. Not even child support. Dude just vanished. Mom worked her ass off at 2 jobs just to keep us fed and housed. I learned real quick that if I wanted something in life, I had to work for it myself. Started cutting grass for neighbors when I was 10. Had a paper route at 13. Worked construction every summer in high school. Every penny I made either went to help mom with bills or into my savings account. See, I had a plan. Even as a kid, I loved building things. Started with Legos, then moved on to helping neighbors fix their fences, learning basic carpentry. But what really caught my attention was metalwork. There was something about taking raw steel and turning it into something beautiful and functional that just clicked for me. After high school, I went to community college for welding and fabrication. Paid for it myself with the money I'd saved plus working nights at a warehouse. Got my certifications, learned everything I could about different welding techniques, metal properties, design principles. I wasn't the smartest guy in class, but I was definitely the most determined. Spent 3 years after graduation working for other people, a structural steel company, then a custom fabrication shop. Learned the business side, how to estimate jobs, deal with customers, manage projects. But the whole time I was planning my escape, saving every dollar I could, buying tools piece by piece, dreaming of the day I could go out on my own. When I was 23, I took the leap, had about $8,000 saved up, bought a used Lincoln MIG welder, some basic hand tools, angle grinder, cutting torch setup, rented this tiny garage space for $300 a month. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Those first few years were brutal. I'm talking ramen noodles for dinner 6 nights a week brutal. I had a cot in the corner of the garage because I couldn't afford an apartment and workshop space. Worked 12-hour days, 7 days a week. Did anything that paid, fixing broken gates, welding up trailer hitches, making simple handrails for people's porches. But word got around. People noticed I did good work for fair prices, showed up when I said I would, cleaned up after myself, started getting referrals, bigger jobs, a decorative railing here, a custom gate there. Slowly, I was able to upgrade my equipment. Better welders, plasma cutter, small mill, eventually even a little forge for ornamental work. By the time I was 30, I was pulling in around $70,000 a year and had probably $40,000 worth of equipment. Not bad for a guy who started with nothing. I'd bought a small house with a 2-car garage that I converted into my main workshop. Had my life together, was proud of what I'd built. That's when Jessica entered the picture, and everything went to shit. I met Jessica at a coffee shop downtown. I was there grabbing lunch between jobs, covered in metal shavings and probably smelling like cutting oil. She was at the next table over, talking loudly on her phone about some marketing campaign she was working on. Jessica was flashy, always had her nails done, designer handbag, probably fake but looked expensive, drove a BMW that I later found out was financed up to her eyeballs. She was the type who'd complain about her order being wrong just to get attention, you know what I mean? When she got off her call, she started chatting me up, asked what I did for work, seemed impressed when I mentioned I owned my own business, kept asking questions about what kind of projects I worked on, how long I'd been doing it, if I owned property. Should have been red flags, but honestly, I was lonely and she was attractive. She worked as a marketing coordinator for some real estate company, which basically meant she answered phones and scheduled appointments for $12 an hour. But the way she talked about it, you'd think she was running the whole operation. Always had these grand plans about networking and building her personal brand and other buzzword bullshit that never amounted to anything. We dated for about 6 months before she started hinting about moving in together. Said her lease was up, rent was getting expensive, maybe it was time to take our relationship to the next level. I wasn't really ready for that step, but she kept pushing, and honestly, I was getting laid regularly for the first time in years, so I said, okay, biggest fucking mistake of my life. The minute she moved in, everything changed. Suddenly, my garage workshop was too noisy, and I needed to keep normal business hours like a real business. She wanted me to hire employees so I could focus on growing the company instead of doing all the grunt work myself. Translation: she wanted me making more money while working less so she could quit her job and play housewife. And that's exactly what happened. About 4 months after moving in, she quit her job. Said she wanted to support my business and handle the administrative side, which meant she sat on my couch watching reality TV all day while I worked 10-hour shifts to pay for her lifestyle. The bills started piling up. Her car payment, her credit cards, her shopping habits. She'd order stuff online constantly: clothes, makeup, random crap from Amazon. When I'd ask about it, she'd say, "We can afford it," or "You need to think bigger about money." We got married about 2 years after she moved in. I thought maybe having that official commitment would make her appreciate what we had together, make her want to contribute more. Instead, it just made her more entitled. "What's mine is ours. What's yours is ours," she'd say whenever I brought up money. But somehow it never worked the other way around. 3 years into our marriage, everything went completely to hell when Jessica's brother Tyler showed up. This kid was 24. Just got evicted from his apartment in Seattle for not paying rent. Again, this wasn't his first rodeo. Tyler had been bouncing between couches, spare rooms, and short-term rentals since he dropped out of college at 19. Tyler was everything I hate in a person. Entitled, lazy, always had an excuse for why nothing was ever his fault. He had this whole victim complex about how the world was against him, how employers were discriminatory against his creative energy, how his parents didn't support his dreams. His dreams, by the way, changed every 6 months. First, he was going to be a rapper, then a YouTube influencer, then a crypto trader, then an artist. But somehow, he never actually worked toward any of these goals. Jessica called me at work one day, crying about how Tyler was going through a really rough patch and needed a place to stay. Just temporarily, she promised. Just until he could get back on his feet. I said absolutely not. We had a spare bedroom, but I wasn't running a halfway house for grown men who couldn't handle basic adult responsibilities. She lost her shit, screaming about how I didn't care about her family, how I was being selfish with our house, which I'd bought before I even met her, how if I really loved her, I'd help her brother. The waterworks, the guilt trips, the whole performance. Against my better judgment, I caved. Told her Tyler could stay for exactly 1 month, and he had to be actively looking for work and contributing to groceries. She agreed to everything, promised it wouldn't be a problem. Tyler moved in the next day and immediately acted like he owned the place. I'm talking about leaving dirty dishes in the sink for days, taking hour-long showers that used up all our hot water, eating everything in the fridge without replacing anything. He'd have random people over at all hours, sketchy-looking dudes I'd never seen before, coming and going at weird times. And work? Forget about it. This kid slept until 2 p.m., spent his days playing video games and scrolling TikTok, then stayed up all night being loud. After 2 weeks, I told Jessica this wasn't working. He needed to go. "He's trying his best," she said. "You don't understand how hard it is for creative people in this economy." Creative people? He plays Call of Duty 12 hours a day. That's not fair. He's going through depression. He needs support, not judgment. He needs a job and his own place. You're being mean. He's family. That word, family. Like it was some magic spell that made all his bullshit behavior okay. But the real problem started when Tyler discovered my workshop. Let me explain something about my garage workshop. It's not just where I work. It's sacred space. It's where I built everything I have in life, where I go to think and create, where I turn raw metal into something useful and beautiful. I've got about $45,000 worth of equipment in there. Welders, plasma cutters, grinders, precision measuring tools, a small mill, cutting torches, hand tools that took me years to collect. Some of that equipment is genuinely dangerous. Industrial welders that can kill you if you don't know what you're doing. Plasma cutters that slice through steel like butter. grinding wheels spinning at thousands of RPM. This isn't hobby stuff. It's professional-grade equipment that I use to make a living. The first sign of trouble was when I came home from a job site and noticed things weren't where I'd left them. My torch cart moved, gas bottles in the wrong position, some of my steel stock rearranged. At first I thought maybe I was just tired and not remembering correctly. Then I found burn marks on my workbench. Fresh ones. I asked Jessica about it that night. "Oh yeah," she said, barely looking up from her phone. "Tyler's working on some art project. He borrowed a few tools." Borrowed. Without asking. Equipment he had no training or experience with. "He can't use my tools," I told her. "That's dangerous equipment, and some of it's worth more than his car." She rolled her eyes. "Don't be so dramatic. It's just metal and tools. He's being careful." Dramatic. About the equipment I used to pay for her to sit on her ass all day. "Jessica, I'm serious. That's how I make a living. He could get hurt or break something expensive. He's not stupid. He'll figure it out." The next day I came home to find Tyler in my garage, wearing shorts and flip-flops, trying to use my MIG welder on some twisted piece of scrap metal he was calling sculpture. No safety gear, no idea what he was doing, sparks flying everywhere. He'd already burned a hole through my workbench and somehow managed to melt the plastic housing on one of my angle grinders. I completely lost my shit. "What the fuck are you doing in here?" He didn't even stop welding. "Chill out, man. Just making some art." Jessica said it was cool. "Jessica doesn't own this equipment. Turn that off right now." He finally stopped and pushed up the welding helmet I didn't even know he had. "Actually, since you guys are married, this stuff is half hers legally, which makes it half mine to use since I'm family." I stared at him. The pure audacity of this little shit. "You just burned a hole in my workbench and destroyed a $200 grinder." He shrugged. "Accidents happen. Maybe you should invest in better equipment if it breaks so easily." That night, I told Jessica her brother had to go. Immediately. "You're totally overreacting," she said. "Tyler's just learning a new skill. You should be supportive." Supportive? He destroyed $300 worth of stuff in one afternoon. We can afford to replace it. This is important for his self-expression. Like she'd contributed a single dollar to any of it. He's not trained on that equipment. He could seriously hurt himself. Then teach him properly instead of being such a control freak. I showed her the damage. The burned workbench, the melted grinder housing, the mess he'd made of my organized workspace. "It's not that bad," she said. "You're making a big deal out of nothing." Then she said the words that changed everything. "Honestly, you act like you're irreplaceable. There are tons of welders out there. Maybe Tyler could even take over some of the work and help grow the business." I didn't sleep that night. Just lay there thinking about how I'd built everything from nothing, and these two parasites thought they could just take whatever they wanted because we shared a last name. At 4 a.m., I got up, loaded my truck, and drove to the garage. I stood there for a minute looking at everything. All my welders, my toolboxes, the plasma cutter, the mill, even my stock of steel and aluminum. 13 years of saving and building, and two entitled assholes thought they could just help themselves. I started loading. Every single piece of equipment. The big Lincoln MIG welder that took me 2 years to afford. The plasma cutter I'd bought just last year. All my hand tools. My precision measuring equipment. My cutting torches. Everything. Made 6 trips to move it all to a storage unit across town that I rented on the spot. But I left something behind. Went to FedEx office first thing when they opened and had them print a big professional sign. Property of my full name. Authorized personnel only. Do not touch. Bolted it right to the wall where my main welding station used to be. Then I went to work like nothing had happened. My phone started blowing up around 9 a.m. "Jessica, where is everything? What did you do with all the equipment? Tyler can't finish his project." I ignored every call and text. When I got home that evening, Jessica was waiting in the living room with Tyler. Both looked pissed as hell. "You emptied the entire garage," she screamed the second I walked in. "I secured my business equipment in a safe location. You can't just take everything. I live here too." "You live here. You don't own my business or my tools." Tyler jumped in. "Dude, this is totally fucked up. I had something really important I was working on. You had a piece of scrap metal you were randomly burning holes in while destroying my equipment. That was art, man. You wouldn't understand. Art doesn't give you the right to use $40,000 worth of tools without permission." Jessica stepped between us. "This is ridiculous. We're supposed to be partners in this marriage. Partners contribute equally. All you do is spend my money." "I contribute plenty. I manage this household. You watch Netflix and order shit online with my credit card?" Her face twisted with rage. "Fine. You want to know what I really think? You're just a blue-collar worker with dirty hands who thinks he's hot shit. I could walk out tomorrow and find 10 guys better than you by the weekend. That was it. I packed a bag and left that night. I crashed at my buddy Derek's auto shop for the first week. He's been a friend since welding school. Understood the situation without needing much explanation. Let me set up a temporary workspace in his back bay so I could keep taking jobs while I figured out my next move. That's when I got a Facebook message that changed everything. A girl named Amanda said she used to date Tyler in Seattle, had seen Jessica posting about our situation on social media. She had screenshots, lots of them, text conversations where Tyler bragged to his friends about playing the system, living rent-free while his sugar daddy brother-in-law paid for everything. How he was planning to steal some of my equipment to sell on Craigslist. How Jessica was coaching him on what to say to make me feel guilty about kicking him out. But the really damning stuff was Jessica's messages to her girlfriends, talking about how she was just waiting for my business to get bigger before divorcing me and taking half. How she'd already talked to a lawyer about community property laws. Screenshots of her saying I was too stupid and trusting to see it coming, and how she was going to clean him out. There were messages going back over a year. Her laughing about how easy it was to manipulate me, how I was just a meal ticket until she found something better. One message literally said, I just have to put up with the Grease Monkey act a little longer, and then I'm set for life. Amanda told me Tyler had pulled this exact same scam with at least 2 other guys in Seattle. Move in with his sister or girlfriend, trash their stuff, steal what he could sell, then disappear when things got too hot. She said she'd tried to warn one of the previous victims, but he didn't believe her until it was too late. I forwarded everything to a lawyer that same day. This wasn't just about respect anymore. It was fraud. The lawyer I hired, Patricia Chen, was a shark. Looked at all the screenshots, the evidence of Tyler's previous scams, Jessica's messages about planning to take my business. Her eyes lit up like Christmas morning. This is gold, she said. When we can prove someone entered a marriage with intent to defraud, it changes everything about asset division. We filed for divorce, but also sued both Jessica and Tyler for theft, destruction of property, fraud, and emotional distress. The damaged equipment, the stolen materials, even the utilities they'd run up while I was supporting Tyler. We documented everything with photos, receipts, witnesses. But Patricia had an even better idea. We're going to go after Tyler criminally, too. He's been stealing from multiple victims across state lines. That's federal. She contacted the FBI's white-collar crime division. Turned out Tyler was already on their radar. Amanda wasn't the only victim who'd reported him, just the first one willing to provide evidence. Within a week of filing our lawsuit, Tyler got arrested. Federal marshals showed up at my house, where he was still living, and dragged him out in handcuffs. Charges included interstate fraud, theft, identity theft, he'd been using fake references for jobs, and a bunch of other stuff I didn't even know about. Jessica called me that night, hysterical. They arrested Tyler. You have to help him. He's family. Your family, not mine. And I'm not helping someone who stole from me. It was just some scrap metal. You're destroying his life over nothing. Nothing. He caused $2,000 in damage to my equipment and was planning to steal more to sell. The FBI said you gave them information about him. Damn right I did. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. That's when the begging really started. About 2 weeks after Tyler's arrest, Jessica's whole attitude changed. The angry calls stopped. Instead, she started leaving voicemails asking if we could work things out and put this behind us. See, her fancy divorce lawyer wanted $50,000 up front, and when her credit cards maxed out, he dropped her like a hot rock. She was stuck with some overworked public defender who basically told her she was screwed. The house was in my name only, bought before we met. The business was mine, and now we had evidence she'd married me with intent to commit fraud. She was looking at walking away with nothing, plus potentially owing me money for damages. Tyler's situation was even worse. The FBI had found evidence linking him to at least 6 different fraud schemes across 3 states. He was looking at 5 to 10 years in federal prison, and they froze all his assets to pay back victims. That's when Jessica showed up at Derek's shop where I was working. She looked like shit. Hair messy, no makeup, wearing the same clothes I'd seen her in 3 days earlier. The BMW was gone. Repossessed, I found out later. Can we talk? She asked, all meek and apologetic. We can talk through our lawyers. Please, I can't afford a lawyer anymore. I'm about to lose everything. Sounds like a personal problem. She started crying. Real tears. Not the fake ones she used to use to manipulate me. I'm sorry, okay? I know I fucked up. I know I said terrible things. But we had something good once, didn't we? Can't we try to fix this? What we had was you using me as a bank account while planning to rob me blind? I never meant for it to go this far. Tyler was supposed to just stay a few weeks and then leave. I didn't know he was going to steal from you or cause so much damage. But you knew you were planning to divorce me and take half my business. She froze, realized I'd seen the messages. That, that was just me being angry. I didn't mean it. You meant every word. You called me a grease monkey and a meal ticket. Said I was too stupid to see it coming. More tears. I was just venting to my friends. I didn't mean any of it. You meant it enough to talk to lawyers about community property laws. She tried a different approach. Look, I'll sign whatever papers you want. We can make this easy. Just please don't let Tyler go to prison. He's my little brother. He's all the family I have left. Your little brother is a career criminal who's been scamming people for years. He just makes bad choices. He's not a bad person. He literally planned to steal my equipment and sell it. While living in my house, eating my food, using my utilities, she was full-on sobbing now. What do you want from me? I'll do anything. I'll get a job. I'll pay you back somehow. Just please help us. I looked at her for a long moment. This woman who'd spent 3 years treating me like garbage, who'd planned to destroy my life for money, who defended her criminal brother over her own husband. Remember what you said about finding 10 guys better than me by the weekend? She nodded, sniffling. Go find one of them to help you. Then I walked away. Tyler got sentenced to 7 years in federal prison and ordered to pay $150,000 in restitution to his various victims. I got about $8,000 of that, which barely covered my legal fees. But seeing him in an orange jumpsuit was worth every penny. Jessica had to sell everything she owned to pay for basic legal representation. The BMW, her designer bags, her jewelry, all gone. She ended up moving back in with her parents at 32 years old and getting a job at a call center for $13 an hour. The divorce went exactly how Patricia predicted. Jessica got nothing from the business, nothing from the house, and actually ended up owing me $15,000 for damages and legal fees. The judge was not impressed with her text messages about planning to defraud me. I used some of the settlement money to lease a proper commercial space downtown. Big garage doors, overhead cranes, room for bigger projects. Hired 2 employees, a young guy fresh out of welding school who reminds me of myself at that age, and an experienced fabricator who wanted semi-retirement. Business is booming. Word got around about the quality of my work, and now I'm getting contracts with construction companies, architects, even some art installations for the city. Last year I cleared $140,000, more than I ever made working out of my garage. I'm dating someone new too. Sarah's a nurse at the local hospital, works her ass off just like I do. She thinks it's cool that I build things with my hands, never once asked how much money I make or hinted about quitting her job. Funny how much better relationships work when both people actually contribute. That sign I made, property of my name, authorized personnel only, is now hanging in my new shop right by the front entrance. Customers ask about it sometimes, and I give them the short version of the story. It's become kind of my trademark. But the best part of this whole saga happened about 6 months ago. I got a call from the county jail. Tyler, calling collect. Hey man, I know we had our differences, but I'm getting out in a few years and I was hoping we could let bygones be bygones. Maybe I could come work for you? I learned a lot about metalworking from that time I was practicing in your garage. I laughed so hard I almost dropped the phone. Tyler, you destroyed $2,000 worth of my equipment and planned to rob me. What makes you think I'd ever trust you with so much as a paperclip? Come on, man. Jessica's broke. My parents won't talk to me. I got nowhere else to go when I get out. I'll work for cheap. Minimum wage even. I wouldn't hire you to sweep my floors. Please, I'm begging you. I learned my lesson. I'll do anything. You should have thought about that before you decided to be a thief and a parasite. Then I hung up on him. Last I heard through mutual acquaintances, Jessica's still living with her parents and working at that call center. Lost about 40 pounds, looks tired all the time, drives a beat-up Honda Civic. Her friends all dropped her when the fraud stuff came out. Turns out nobody wants to associate with someone who marries people just to rob them. And Tyler? He's got 3 more years left on his sentence, plus probation after that. His cellmate is apparently a guy who really doesn't like thieves. I hope they're very happy together. Sometimes people ask me if I feel bad about how everything turned out for them. Like maybe I went too far, destroyed their lives over some tools and pride. Here's the thing though, I didn't destroy their lives. They destroyed their own lives by being greedy, entitled pieces of shit who thought they could use and abuse people without consequences. All I did was make sure those consequences finally caught up with them. The best revenge isn't getting mad or getting even. Sometimes the best revenge is just letting entitled people face the results of their own shitty choices, then refusing to save them when they come crawling back.